Hey, Eric B. here with SeattleRealEstateInvesting.com, and today I got a special guest that I'm sitting here with, and is a good friend of mine, Paul Scheidele, and we're going to be talking about a couple different things, but a lot of it's going to be revolving around cash flow and how to really automate the cash flow into your bank account, which is a really powerful thing, obviously, and it's something that we're all striving to do, but really how we leverage real estate to accomplish that. So, you know, there's a couple different aspects and nuances that go into this strategy, and there's a lot of different pitfalls that you can get trapped into. And so,
absolutely,
you know, we've put together a team, and really not. I didn't put together a team, but Paul Scheidele runs a team that specializes this. And so for a lot of you, you may or may not know, but I have a really strong relationship with the Fortune Builders, which is a real estate education company. And I work with a lot of different students across the country on how to build their real estate business, and the cash flow aspect of that is one leg of the strategy that we coach on. So when I work with students, oftentimes we refer them right on over to the Passive Income Club and Paul Scheidele more specifically. So so before we get too far into this, tell me a little bit, like, as far as the overview, the 500-foot level of the strategy that you work with every day.
So what we do is a lot of clients kind of come to us and they basically just ask, hey, I may not want to have a full-time business in real estate, or I do have a full-time business in real estate and I'm creating profits. What do I do with those profits? Right. Or for the doctors, the lawyers, the everyday 9-to-5 types of guys who have day jobs and they don't want to quit their day jobs, but they want to take advantage of the market. How the heck do I do that?
Right.
How do I employ what's going on in today's real estate market, which we all know is an incredible opportunity? How do I leverage that to create some wealth for myself and create some passive income? And that's kind of what we do. We've got a system that we ourselves use, and we'll kind of get to that a little bit later as far as how that works and what it is, but we have a system that we ourselves have built to create monthly reoccurring cash flow coming into our own pockets. And what we do is we help our students and our clients leverage that same platform. And what we do is a lot of the teaching, the educating of how it works, because everyone can talk 500-foot level, kind of pie in the sky.
Yeah.
Sit back and, you know, you see the late night infomercials with the glitz and the glam of, hey, I sit in the beach and sip my ties and I've got $20,000 coming in passively, but no one really ever breaks it down for you and shows you on a step A to step Z system of how it works, how they've done it with open transparency, and then how to customize the system to them. You know, that's kind of where we come in. That's our job, is really to not only teach and educate, but then to figure out where the client is, where the student is, and help them understand what options they have. And then if they were us, or if they were, you know, the people who founded our company, what decisions would we make if they were in their shoes?
Right.
And that's why people traditionally come to us and say, hey, how can I create some passive income in my life?
Right. So to kind of digress a little bit, the real estate is a powerful income producer.
Absolutely.
And for active income, when you buy, fix, and sell, and we all make money different ways, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a real estate investor, and that's important to acknowledge. But really, it's that all of those activities that produce that type of income take our time.
Absolutely.
Right? And so that's, you know, whether you're buy, fix, and sell, lawyer, doctor, you know, secretary, it doesn't really matter. But what does matter is that you have a strategy to build some sort of a portfolio and leverage real estate to create a long-term dynamic investment plan that will grow over time.
Absolutely. And from the 500-foot level, that's exactly what we do. What we do is we employ strategies we've developed on the buy and hold real estate side. So we do buy and hold rental properties.
Right.
And from the 500-foot view, very simply, is we buy a undervalued property that's somehow distressed.
Yes.
And we get that and we put a tenant in there. If we need to rehab the property, we'll go ahead and rehab it up. And we put a tenant in there. And that tenant will take care of, if we have any debt service on the property or we leveraged into it, will take care of that payment for us. But that rental income that comes in not only takes care of whatever obligations we have on that property, but puts dollars in our pocket every single month. And that's that passive piece.
So when you say that rent will take care of any obligation, would that would be the mortgage?
That would be the mortgage, you know, taxes,
Yep.
insurance, management fee, all the things that are headaches normally
Yeah. Okay.
that people associate with real estate. Of I don't want to own real estate because it's a headache.
Yeah.
You know, because we and we'll get to that a little bit later, because our philosophy is it needs to be passive. That's why they call it passive income. You know, you're not creating another job for yourself. It's passive. So the rent that comes in needs to cover all that, plus leave you money in the bank each and every month.
So a common pitfall that we all seen, and in fact, it really is true to me in my life, is buying real estate and then self-managing that real estate.
Yeah.
And so that means that, like, for example, my parents, they own a real estate portfolio. And so part of my life growing up always was changing the toilets, painting the houses.
Yep.
Those were my
Yep.
first jobs growing up, was taking care of my parents' rental portfolio. And then it grew to placing the Craigslist ad and interviewing the tenants
Yep.
and qualifying them and going through the credit checks. That's a lifestyle.
Becomes a whole encompassing, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that not only took over my mom's time, that was her job, but she quickly outsourced a lot of that activity to us.
Sure.
Because it was overwhelming.
Sure.
Right? And they,
Yeah.
they didn't have a huge portfolio, and yet it still got to be overwhelming quite quickly. So really kind of the lesson learned from my perspective was, there was nothing passive about that income.
Right.
Yeah. It was, they were working for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And although they were thinking in the...
It's passive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
right.
But it really, really wasn't.
Exactly.
And so I think that's really where you guys step in. And,
Exactly.
And transfer that mindset to, hey, let's create a rental portfolio that really, truly is passive, in the sense that I don't even know that I own rental properties, except for the check that shows up, and the fact that I have the picture on the wall of the house, the asset that is producing that income.
And it sounds too good to be true, right? I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. It sounds too good to be true. You mean I can own something where I'll never have to deal with it, and it's still I get money in my pocket every single month? I mean, that sounds like a fairy tale, right? It's a Ponzi scheme, right? And that happens. We get that. This sounds way too good to be true, but the reality of it is our business here at Fortune Builders, when we first wanted to get into rental properties, we did much the same. Mm-hmm. We managed them ourselves, and we spent several Thanksgivings in a row underneath basements and really tight crawl spaces and sewage water leaking everywhere. Right. And we're like, screw this, we're done with this. Yeah. We're done with this. And we got out of the rental game for a long time because of that.
Yeah.
And then we got to the point where we were generating, without sounding boastful, we generated quite a bit of profit on the active side of the business, and we needed a place to put that profit and reinvest it. Because we're using other people's money on the active side of our business, what do you do with your profits? And we wanted to sink it back into real estate, but we didn't want to distract from our day job, which our day job just happened to be flipping houses. Right. So for us, it had to be truly passive, and that's where the system really got leveraged. And our philosophy is, if it takes more than 4 hours the entire year for us to manage our portfolio, that's not passive. That's going to be an active deal for us. And so we really had to make sure it was turnkey in the literal sense of the word. Someone else found the properties for us. Someone else brought the properties to us on a silver platter, essentially, and knew our criteria inside and out, which ones matched what we were looking for. Right. If the property needed rehab, it was already done. There was a rehab crew who already took care of it for us. We didn't have to spend any energy on it. But the biggest piece is the management piece. And as you know, the devil's in the details with management. It's a pain in the rear end. Totally. And that's the biggest piece of the puzzle, where someone who can screen the tenants for us, someone who can bring on the right kinds of tenants, and then manage it the right way throughout the whole lifetime and life cycle of that property. And really, because it's not the property that, so many people get this wrong. They think that rental real estate is all about the property. But unfortunately, as we all know, the property doesn't make you any money in rental real estate. It's the people who do.
The tenants.
Because the property doesn't rent itself, property didn't rehab itself, property doesn't manage itself. It's people who do all of that stuff. So we kind of have a little bit of a reverse idea of how we go about investing. First, we choose who we want to partner with.
I see.
And that partnership is huge. And yes, they have to be in the right market. They have to have access to the right properties. They have to have all the things on paper that pencil out. But first, I need to choose who I'm going to partner with and who I'm going to trust with my nest egg. Right. Very simply.
Right.
And they have to have a very, very, very extensive track record. We're talking 8, 9, 10 years in the business with several thousand properties already under management. Several hundred clients already purchasing. We have very, very strict criteria for ourselves who we buy from, for ourselves at Fortune Builders, and that's what that's what the Passive Income Club got morphed out of. We took that system that we created, created truly passive, and we're opening it up to our clients and our students who want to come in and kind of replicate that success.
Right. So tell me, I think we pretty much covered the general principles of what you guys do, and it sounds amazing. First, in the sense that that's what we all want.
Sure, everybody wants that, right? How do you actually get it done?
Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about the nuts and bolts of what the Passive Income Club, what you guys accomplish. How do you accomplish that, and really, break down the story of how that was born in your daily activities per se.
Sure. Really what it comes down to is what it is that we believe. And we believe that everyone's different. Everyone's unique. Everyone has a different set of needs and wants and desires. And we believe that because of that, everyone should have a unique plan, a unique action plan designed for them. Because what's good for you and your family isn't necessarily going to be what's good for me and my family.
Sure.
We're different stages in our lives, maybe have different priorities, what have you.
Different bank accounts?
Different bank accounts, thank God.
Right.
Although I'd like to be at your level one day. But it's just a situation where that's where we start with every single student.
Yeah.
And what we first started to do, we said, hey, here's our system, just go replicate it. And people just didn't quite grasp how to apply it to their specific situation. And that's where we learned a lot early on when we first opened this whole system up to people. And we learned a lot by saying we need to spend a lot of time teaching and educating and helping build something custom for each person. Because each person has a different set of financial situation, different set of goals for their future, but different set of circumstances compared to how old they are. If they have kids or not. All these different things will determine their plan to invest. The 55-year-old person who's looking to retire, a spouse or themselves in a couple of years, that's a shorter term plan. They need results immediately. The person in their 20s, 30s, or 40s who has 10, 15, 20 years to when they want to access the dividends, that's a long-term plan. We can do some things to leverage a little bit differently. So everyone's different. That's where we start.
Okay.
That's always where we start with everybody is, where are you at? And what do you want to do? What are you looking to create? And then from there, our job is then to teach them the different strategies that we employ, the different strategies that are available in the market, because we all know, a lot of things that we used to do 5, 6, 7 years ago, we can't do anymore. So teach them where the market's at, what options they have, and then take those two things and meld them. Here's your situation. Here's what you can do. Here's what your options, pros and cons of each. If I were in your shoes, here's the ones that fit what you're looking to do. Here's the best situation for you. And kind of meld the two and really create something custom for them first. And notice I haven't said anything about the properties. I haven't said anything about houses or markets or that stuff yet, because that's honestly the last decision we make. First, we need to figure out how we're going to attack things. We have to figure out how we're going to go about and financially, in your situation, attack properties. Then from there, we can build a criteria on top of that.
Which makes a lot of sense. I think people approach this with kind of a knee-jerk reaction oftentimes. And there's some significant side effects to the knee-jerk.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm going to go, buy this house at the auction because the numbers,
a great screaming deal.
The numbers cash flow, and this is what's going to happen. And next thing they know, they just got themselves into something that was not really well thought out.
Absolutely.
And not, although the intention was to achieve these goals.
And you can have a lot of success doing that too, which is what I love about real estate. You can have a ton of success doing things 100 different ways. You can do a lot of things, right or wrong, and still make a lot of money. God knows I did a lot of things wrong early in my career, and that's how you learn. But what we try and do is just make it the most efficient way possible.
Exactly. Because minimize those craters.
Minimize the risk. Minimize the risk and just take advantage of the system. For us, we're able to access the institutional inventory that a lot of people can't access out there. The properties that don't even get to auction, that the institutional investors out there in this country only have access to. We, for kind of being who we are at Fortune Builders, we're able to access those, and for ourselves, because
Right.
those are the properties that are the best deals and the ones we want to buy ourselves. But also for the people who we work with at the Passive Income Club and our students, they're allowed to access those as well. We just got to figure out which ones
Right.
are right for them. Because if we start with the property and then work backwards, we don't know how we're going to get into it, how it's going to work,
Right.
what's your strategy, how passive it's going to be. If you start from the front, all that's taken care of, then you just have to match a property with
Yeah.
your specific situation. So
Right.
it's very different than how most people do it.
Right. So creating that vehicle.
Exactly.
And there's some significant different tax strategies that come into
Absolutely.
play,
Yeah.
right? And retirement account strategies.
Yeah,
That,
self-directed IRAs, solo 401ks, Canadian investors, RRSPs, there's a lot of different things. And they all have different, like you're saying, all have different tax strategies, all have different wealth creation strategies. Some are short-term, some are long-term, and that's kind of, that you're talking about exactly what our job is.
Right.
Teach them and educate them what it all entails. What do they need to have everything A to Z in order to do this the right way, so
Right.
they don't get hurt.
right. So now let's talk a little bit about the property. So you guys don't just have properties, you just painted a picture that's way more to it than just the properties. So, because kind of what the initial thought process is like, oh, these guys are going to just slang some properties on
Right.
me,
Yeah.
right? But really, that's not the case. So,
That's not the case. Yeah.
So where do the properties come in, and how do they come in?
We have sourced inventory providers throughout the country. We have several different inventory providers throughout the country that we ourselves buy from, and people who want to work with the Passive Income Club have. It's no secret who we work with, right? That's not, we don't keep that a huge secret at all. But what it is we want to match and tailor your specific criteria to a property, because the same property that may be right for you when you're buying in your self-directed IRA may be property that doesn't match my criteria when I'm buying with bank financing outside of an IRA. I want different things. I maybe want more appreciation or less appreciation or cash flow. So we have to match, and it's not just, hey, here's 30 properties that we've sourced that we buy, go buy them, because that's how you get hurt.
Yeah.
It's, hey, you've told me that you want long-term gains. You've told me that you want minimal risk. You told me you want X, Y, and Z, and we build you a specific criteria. 3-2, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage in a good part of town, $40, $50, $60 a square foot next to a school or socioeconomic, something like that. That type of criteria down to the price per square foot will match then that type of criteria with the inventory we source.
Okay.
And so it comes at the very end. It's the last decision we make. So it's not a situation where people come and talk to us and all of a sudden they're going to be hit with 5 properties right out the bat.
Yeah, make a decision
and
quick.
they can compare and contrast and say, oh, well, this return is not. No, no, that's not how we do business at all.
Right.
We really want to get to know the client. We really want to get to know what they're looking for. And after we've built them a criteria and helped them understand what this is all about, we send examples quite often. So here's a couple that I personally own through this, so you can see what the returns are, how they perform, how it works. And we do a pretty good job educating and really helping them understand what the market's doing right now.
Yeah.
And then once we build them a criteria, it's time for them to say, okay, great, I know what I'm going to do. Let me have at it.
Yeah.
Hey, here's all the properties you can want that match your specific criteria.
Something that was really impressive to me when I started doing my research on what you guys are doing was the houses that you guys offer or put in front of our clients, is that they are very much beautiful homes in beautiful neighborhoods. Like the total, just the leave it to Beaver type of homes. That I didn't imagine kind of the passive income, stereotype coming out of.
Yeah, and a lot of people, when they think of rental properties, immediately they think of like slumlording, right?
Yeah,
you
totally.
think of, slumlording in the lower socioeconomic
Why that
areas.
is, I don't know, but the houses that you put in front of me were not that case at all. Which
I'm not saying I want to go live in some of the areas we buy in, because I'm a beach bum at heart. I live in San Diego, California, and I love San Diego. I don't really want to move anytime soon.
Fair enough.
And I don't want to go live someplace, in the Midwest. But I've done it before, and I've lived in those types of neighborhoods. I actually, in a previous life, I had a professional baseball career, so I've been through a lot of that part of town. They're great, and I love them. And what we try and do is if you were taking your grandmother through the neighborhood, if you were taking your mother through the neighborhood, would you be able to roll down your windows and wave at your neighbors?
Yeah.
Those kind of neighborhoods. Or you say, no, let's get the heck out of here.
Yeah.
We want to stay away from slumlording. A lot of the parts of town we break it down, and we do, I mean, it all sounds nice and flowery and everything,
Sure.
but there's a lot of research that goes on behind this whole thing. A lot of research. I mean, our company, just ourselves, we've got $10 million worth of property spread throughout the country. And it's my job to you know, manage that portfolio, but also manage the criteria we have. So you can imagine the amount of research I did on the GDP and MSA and all these, you know, fancy schmancy terms that really mean how solid is that economy, and what areas do we want to be in, and all the evaluations. So when it comes to neighborhoods, we do a lot of groundwork, and even down to the street, down to the zip code. Inside that zip code, what streets do we want to be on? What streets do we want to stay away from? Where are the other side of the tracks type of thing, so we can stay away from those. So yeah, we're looking for the, you know, upper middle class, you know, blue collar. We want to stay out of the white collar areas because they don't typically cash flow too much. We want to stay out of the ghettos, for lack of a better term, and we want that nice range right in the middle.
Right.
You know, and each market's going to have a little different price point, according to that. But we want to stay right in that bread and butter.
So you guys are pulling inventory from different parts of the country.
We are. Yeah, we've got inventory and partners across the country that provide us inventory on a daily basis. I mean, we have massive companies out there who their whole job is they're the turnkey solution, right? So they provide inventory for us. They provide inventory for our students, for our clients. They provide inventory for a lot of people throughout the country. So they often are writing 300 to 500 offers a week.
Wow.
You know, and selling from that, getting 1%, 2% of those accepted, and then turning around a product of 30, 40, 50, 60 houses a month. So this isn't like a one-off mom and pop type operation. This is a well-oiled machine that we've tapped into.
Yeah, that's impressive. So, and you guys are always looking at different markets as the cycles go through.
My frequent flyer miles are up through the roof, I can tell you. It's my job as kind of the head of the division to stay out in front of what's going on in the markets. Stay out in front of, because we know some of the great hotspots. You know, Memphis, Tennessee is one of the biggest hotspots in the entire country for buying holds now, but you know, everyone and their mother, you know, we were on that bandwagon 5 years ago before it was hot. You know, and we've got a large part of our portfolio there. It's a great market. You know, Dallas, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia, but everyone kind of knows the secret's out on those. You know, so it's my job to find the next hidden gems and always be out there looking for where's the next buy and hold market. But beyond just the market, where's the next company who we can trust? Because I don't care if you have the right market and the right property, if you don't have the right people, if you don't have the right team who can help your protect your capital, mitigate your risk, but also that you can trust, so you can lay your head in your pillow at night and not have to worry about what's going on with your money, and know that next check's going to hit. That's what we look for, so much more beyond just the market. The market has to make sense, but the people have to make even more sense, if that makes sense.
So, but something that I know it took me a long time to understand, and frankly I've talked with a lot of students about, is the mindset of just buying properties outside of their own market. So buying properties that I cannot go drive to, right? And that's a significant challenge. So
it is.
How do you work with people on that just type of mindset and or strategy?
Really, it's just a matter of what it is are you looking for. You know, what is it that you want? Because for us, one of our criteria is actually that it needs to not be in our own backyard. We actually don't want properties in our own backyard, which is very contrarian to how a lot of people think. And the old stigma is, you know, most people become a landlord originally from, they upgrade their primary house to another house, they don't want to sell it, and they become a landlord.
Story of my parents.
And then they get 2 or 3 more, and all of a sudden it gets a job, like we talked about. So for us, every minute, and we're fanatical, every minute spent away from our active side of the business costs us money. And for us, our active business is buying, fixing, and selling real estate and turning it quickly. This is very much a long-term strategy, and it's very passive for us. So if it was in our own area and something went wrong, what would we actually do? We have that sense of security and the security blanket to be able to go and drive by it, but what do you actually do? You actually take time out of your workday to go drive by, 10, 15, 20 minutes there, sometimes more. And then what do? Then you call your property manager, and you're already at the property, and you have to wait for him to come. And then you're supervising him, managing him to fix the doorknob. So what are you paying him for in the first place? And it creates a situation where it's what we call an MWA. It's a minimum wage activity.
Yeah.
Right? It's an MWA. And for
Yeah.
our business, we just want to stay away from minimum wage activities as much as we possibly can. And the most efficient use of our time and money was to partner with people who could do it better than we could, who that's their whole job,
Right.
was to manage properties. And they manage several thousand of these already. And they have 95% occupancy and collect 99% of the rents by the 5th. So we can focus on what we're good at. Right. And we're good at not managing properties. That's a minimum wage type of activity. And if I can still get the type of returns that I'm looking for, you know, high double-digit returns passively, well, I can spend my time going and creating more profits. Right. And some people don't want to do it that way. Yeah. Some people want to be more hands-on, and there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Mm-hmm. You know, I tell people often, it's not the right way, it's not the wrong way, it's just our way. Yeah. You know, we just found a system where it's passive for us, 100% passive. And if it was in our own market, in our own neighborhood, in our own backyard, and we couldn't let go, we wanted to have some kind of semblance of control over it, no matter what that would be, it just is a drain. It turns out to be a money drain. I've heard so many people in real estate kind of come to us and say, after all, well, I've done 2 or 3 of these, and I wanted to do it on my own, and I get it now. Yeah. I understand now. Yeah. I've got 2 or 3 under my belt. I'm making good money, but it's just such a headache. It's such a drain, and I'm ready to do it out of state. We get that often, all the time, all the time. So we just try and start out that way.
Right. I mean, I from my vantage point, I've seen it all the way through, and so I mean, I can't even. I have this conversation a lot, and it's tough for people to have that switch over, but
to let go.
Yeah, to let go. But I'll tell you, having the properties in your local market is just too darn tempting. It
is
to micromanage and to nitpick and to steal your time away. So it is. That's difficult. So it's definitely a blessing in disguise.
It is.
You know, to have that. Another question that I have is that it's kind of like, you know, this all sounds great for the guys that have, you know, tens of thousands of liquid capital in their bank account and that can just buy properties like this and, you know, all these retirement accounts. But what if I'm just like, you know, the quote unquote average Joe that comes in and it's like, you know what, I love the idea, I get the concepts, but you know, I don't have a ton of money right now, and what do I do? And so tell me how you would work with somebody like that.
So really what it comes down to is we do need to know. You know, if you're jumping out of an airplane, you gotta have a parachute. You're going scuba diving, you need to have an air tank. You're buying and hold properties for the long haul, you do need to have capital. Bottom line, you know, make no mistake about it. But there's this myth out there that you have to have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to get started, and it's just not true. I mean, the properties we normally target, once again, we don't want a slumlord, but we don't want to be in the white collar areas. I want that nice middle grounds. So we're targeting, you know, 60, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 homes. We're not breaking the bank with these homes. And a lot of times individuals can qualify for financing to get into these homes. So often 20% down on a $100,000 house, you know, $15,000, $20,000 often, you know, in that area can get you a lot. You know, an $85,000 to $100,000 home, 20% down, that's $15,000, $20,000. Most people who are looking to get into real estate have that access to that kind of capital. Now, little caveat that you know, you have to qualify for financing. A lot of people can't do that in these days, and that's where we start by just getting to know each other. Getting to know what's right for you, and that's kind of where we started initially was, hey, let's get to know you, figure out what your situation is, and then apply something to you. And that's
some
a lot of
get the track outlined.
So a lot of people get on the horn with us and say, hey, here's my situation. Is this right for me or not? And sometimes we have to say, hey, unfortunately, no, because of the level of capital. You don't have, you know, a safety net fund set up already. You don't have 6 months of operating expenses for your business or for, you know, yourself and your family. You should build that up first and then come to us, because we never want to over leverage someone. We never want to put them in a situation where, you know, they're scraping by just to invest. That's the opposite of what we want. You know, we want to increase net worth.
But they walk away with a plan.
They walk away with, hey, here are some goals. Here are some things you can do to get yourself ready. Here is the next steps for you. It may be to stay laser focused and keep doing what you're doing, or you may need to make 2 or 3 strategic changes in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis with your current paycheck, so you can start putting more away towards the house fund, so you can get into a buy and hold rental. But they have a plan. They come away, here's what I need to do.
Yeah,
right.
That makes perfect sense. And then on the flip side, if you have somebody like a high income earner that maybe has a large retirement account that's really not getting the returns that they want, how do you handle a client like that?
Same process. Okay. Typically, to begin with, we have that same process of getting to know you, but we can leverage self-directed IRAs. We'll talk to them about the different options for retirement accounts. We'll talk to them about kind of building a comprehensive plan with short-term and long-term gains inside of that plan, because if you're dealing with someone who has multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars, typically they'd like a blend. Hey, I'd like some long-term gains and some short-term cash flow as well. We can apply 2 or 3 different strategies throughout their portfolio and diversify them throughout, so they have some shorter-term gains, some longer-term gains, some leverage, some all cash. And there's a lot of different things we can do to create a fairly diverse situation. It's not cookie cutter. There's no cookie cutter people, so there's no cookie cutter plans. Just steal a line from Terry Givens, my senior wealth advisor, there where he says that all the time. It's true. Everyone's a little bit different. So the high net worth individual, they're just going to want different things. Protection of capital is huge for them, typically. They really want to see what's going to happen to protect this and mitigate my risk. But I'm sick and tired of getting 2% returns, 3% returns, 4% returns.
How could you be happy with that?
I want to get 10. On a bad day, we can get 10% in real estate. On a bad day.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, that makes a lot of sense, and I think really my big takeaways from working with you and seeing you work with my clients and with the Fortune Builder students is the level of attention that you guys bring to your clients individually. Just that's something that really makes me feel good about referring your people to you on any level, and I just want to say thank you. From my perspective,
you're very welcome, and we really love working with SaddleRealEstateInvesting.com clients. We love seeing your students and clients come through. We love it. For us, it comes down to integrity. Integrity and trust. And if you don't have those 2 things, you're not going to be very successful in life in general. And that's what we've built our business upon, and that's why we've got the reputation we have. It is through, if we were in your shoes, if we were in the student's shoes, the client's shoes, what would we do in their case? And that's where the forefront question we always ask ourselves, and that in business everyone needs to ask.
Cool. Well, do you have any questions for me, or I think I've
I think we're pretty good. I think we kind of covered everything we wanted to chat about today. I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for spending some time with us, everybody. And you can get to us if you'd like to speak with us and my team. There'll be something on this page. You can put your information in. And you can get directly to us.
So send an email to info@SeattleRealEstateInvesting.com or enter your information on the page here, and we'll be sure to connect you guys and make sure that you get everything you need.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.